X-Man here for weekly. Here for weekly update number 59 on this Friday. So what's new with the BRZ? Well, there's actually quite a lot. First thing is I have the summer tires on now. I got them put on this past weekend, and I was in a pinch as far as time, so I had to go to the local NTB. I normally don't like those big chain places that work on cars. They're normally just nothing but horror stories. And they put the tires on. Can't really complain about that. But I think that they knocked one of the little super center caps too hard, and there's a slight crack in it. Of course, I didn't realize it until I got home, and I'm sure if I took it back, they would say, oh, it happened on the way home, da 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 da. So, I really have no recourse, so have to fix that at some point. I don't think they're very expensive, but just annoying. Other updates of the BRZ. Well, a little update on the condensation thing. It's been a little over a week now that I've had this fix on the car, and it's holding up well so far. I think I saw a little bit of condensation in both taillights, but it was very, very faint. But someone last week actually asked to see what this trunk liner fix was that Super did whenever I took it in for service. And I looked around, and honestly, the only thing I can see is that there's little rubber stops now that are on top of the metal part. You can see the way I filmed it there. I think that's the only thing that they've really changed, but it was a little bit harder to close the trunk the very first time, but I don't think there's really much that's changing that. I think it's just a bad design. The way the trunk's designed, it's just very poorly designed, and some people said it's kind of unavoidable no matter what. Just kind of something I have to come to just accept in this car, I guess, is it's going to have condensation issues. Although I can't really complain too much, considering if you've been following some of the car news this past week, Nick Murray has a new Porsche 911, a 991 version, and he just has all kinds of issues with that. All kinds of, it's obviously a lemon, but his whole headache of issues. His one video has almost 1 million views now from, he just caused an uproar, and finally Porsche took notice. So I can't really complain. If all I have wrong with this car is some taillight condensation, I can live with that. So anyway, and then the other thing is, I mentioned last week how I was considering removing the intake, putting the stock one back in, and removing the sound tube so that, I could maybe eliminate some of the drone in the car. And I did do that. I took out the air raid intake. By the way, I'm probably going to post it up on the forums here in the next few days whenever I have time to clean it up and post it up. I know one of them sold for $140 on there a month or two ago, so thinking about getting something around that. But if any of you are interested in buying the air raid intake off of me, send me a message on Facebook, and we can talk about it. So, but anyway, I put the stock one back in, and honestly, I think the throttle response is slightly better with the stock intake, and I really like, it's still just perfectly fine the way it is. And aside from that, I deleted the sound tube, and the sound tube, it actually cleans up the engine bay whenever you don't have it in there, and it's very easy to do. And I noticed that it did remove some of the drone. It actually worked. With the windows up like this, it's a lot less drony. I mean, it still does drone. This is still a very loud exhaust. There's no way to get around that. But with the windows up especially, I noticed that it is a little bit quieter. And so, it's a little bit more livable. I'm making baby steps here. Still not sure, what I'm going to do. But for now, I'm happy. It's a little bit quieter. And so, yeah, that's good. But yeah, that's it for all the new updates with the BRZ. So I'll send it back to me at the news desk for all the news from this week's New York Auto Show. Right, so for this week's news, lots and lots of stuff because of the New York Auto Show this week, so I'm going to try and go quickly through this stuff. The first stuff, though, is news about the 2015 BRZ that's going to be coming out. And I've mentioned little things here and there about it. Just, there's been some rumors and some somewhat confirmed stuff, such as there's going to be a higher trim level, an STI probably version or something like that. It's not the full-blown performance STI, but just, has some nice little body, parts on it and things like that. But anyway, two things that have been somewhat confirmed is that there's going to be 2 new colors for 2015. And these are probably going to spread over to the FRS as well, considering the BRZ and the FRS are produced on the same production line. So the two new colors are going to be Crystal White Pearl and Ice Silver Metallic, which are two colors that are offered on the 2015 WRX. So if you're interested in what the colors are going to look like, go check them out on the 2015 WRX. And so they're going to replace the current Satin White Pearl that you can get for the BRZ, and then the silver color that's currently available for the BRZ. Those will both be taken away. So the Ice Silver actually looks pretty nice. It has a little hint of blue in it. I think it's a really nice color. The Crystal White Pearl, they're saying, is going to have less metallic flake than the Satin White Pearl that's on the current BRZ and FRS. It's white out on the FRS, but so yeah, that's going to probably be more of a flat white color, which I think is pretty cool. So, and then the other news that I've gotten recently, just from the forums here, people talking about it, apparently for Canada, now this is Canada, I don't know if we're going to get the same thing in the US, but for Canada, it looks like someone has an order sheet for ordering 2015 BRZs. Apparently they're going to be available in July, by the way, for those of you that are considering a 2015 BRZ. And across all the models in Canada, you get a shark fin antenna, which you won't be able to get in America because of the satellite radio and all that kind of stuff. But they also have gunmetal carbon panels on the interior, so that's going to be kind of like the Scion FRS has. And if you see the BRZ TS in Japan, that also has kind of the same thing. So I think that's going to be swapped out, instead of having the silver plastic panels that the current BRZ has, which honestly I'm not really a big fan of, so that's going to be a good update. They also say it's going to have new exhaust tips, probably something that isn't so comically small looking in the stock, car. The muffler tips are just way too small. So hopefully they make some bigger ones. Also, there's going to be a new key fob apparently for the limited version. And then for this STI Special Edition, which is going to slot above the limited, it's basically what they're saying here is it's going to be available in that new Crystal White Pearl color or in Ward Rally Blue, only in those two colors. It's only going to be manual transmission. It's going to have the STI lip kit, so it's going to have the front lip, the side strakes, and then the rear diffuser, and then it's also going to have the padded knee pads that you get on the JDM cars. It's going to have black and blue Alcantara inserts in the seats instead of the standard black. It's going to have blue stitching instead of the red stitching that you have on the BRZ. Currently, it's also going to have a frameless mirror like the FRS Monogram series. It's going to have red brake calipers, but they're probably going to be the same size brakes, just painted red. And then it's going to have 17-inch STI black alloy wheels and a STI start button, which is red instead of the standard black start button. So that looks like that's probably going to be the special edition, at least for Canada. That's what they're getting. And chances are, since it has been confirmed that we're going to get some kind of special edition here in the States, that's probably all we're going to get. So no performance upgrades whatsoever, and even the upgrades they do have are things you could very easily do in the aftermarket. So very unimpressive car if that's what they're bringing. So yeah, a little bit of disappointment, but it sounds like 2016 is when they're going to do the proper refresh. And they're saying now, I've been hearing some stuff about the new STI and how they said eventually they will switch over to a turbo FA motor for the new STI and get rid of the EJ 257. So that's something that, hopefully here they're going to be bumping displacement and playing around with that new motor for the new WRX STI. So hopefully the BRZ STI will benefit from some of that R&D and get a bigger motor or something like that for 2016 or possibly 2017. Not really sure of when that's coming out, but yeah, so those are the new features for the BRZ. Kind of underwhelmed, but it is what it is. So on the Scion side, they've actually done some cool stuff. The Scion, just at the New York Auto Show, this is the first New York story here, Scion announced the FRS Release Series 1.0, which comes in this bright yellow color, and it's actually really cool looking to me. So it has, the GT86 headlights, the nice ones, the European countries and Japan gets. And it also has the BRZ now side vent thing. It doesn't have the 86 emblem that the FRS normally has. It has really nice TRD wheels, and I really like it. It has a TRD kind of duckbill kind of spoiler, and then it also has a rear diffuser that reminds me of the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta's rear diffuser. Really like the way that looks actually, and this one actually has lowering springs as well, and it has the TRD exhaust system, so technically you could say it probably has a couple more horsepower, but at least they have some springs on it here, so it has some performance upgrades. Again, this is stuff you could very easily do in the aftermarket, but at least this one has some kind of performance in it as well, and it's not just a bunch of tinsel on top of it to make it look cooler. So yeah, I'm glad that Scion's going with that. I actually kind of like that. I don't know if I'm going to swap the BRZ for one of those, but that's very cool. And it also has all the loaded up features. You get a TRD steering wheel, all kinds of cool stuff. So that's pretty awesome. I'm starting to like the Scion direction of this car better than the Subaru one. Other news though from New York though, getting on with the rest of the cars out there. The first is Dodge. I love Dodge. I love their marketing. I love their cars. And for 2015, they're making some big moves here. They've refreshed the Challenger and the Charger. And the Challenger, they're not afraid to stick with retro, which I love because Ford's kind of going more modern with the new Mustang, and the Camaro's trying to get more modern. And Dodge is just like, screw it all. We're staying with the retro thing. We like the way it looks, and that's what they're doing. So, the older, Challenger was based on the 1970. They said for inspiration, they looked to the 1971 Challenger, which is awesome. So the taillights are now segmented in the back instead of being one big light bar, which, like the 71s. They also have halo rings on the inside of the headlights, and it has different grille. It's now a twin outlet instead of just one central grille, and very minor changes. Also on the inside, the interior is much nicer, and I really love the Challenger. I'm so happy that they kept it retro, but it still looks modern. See, people are like, oh, you should be futuristic and stuff. This car, it still looks futuristic and cool, but it's still super retro, and I love retro things, so I just really like that they did that with the Challenger. And also, when they did this refresh, they've added the Scat Pack as an option, which is a really cool system where you can add a bunch of pretty sweet parts on the car, and it adds power and noise, and it gives you a warranty as well. So you can get exhaust, you can get long tube headers, all kinds of stuff, and you can actually bump the power up on the top spec up to 485 horsepower. A lot of people were hoping for a supercharger to be available, in a new top dog Challenger to compete with the Camaro ZL1, like the one I just reviewed, and the GT500 Shelby. Those cars are way over that in horsepower ratings, but this one's gonna make do with 485, but that's not much to complain about. It's just we live in crazy days where that's a low horsepower number for muscle cars. But so that's very cool. And also, like I said, they redid the Dodge Charger for 2015 here, and I gotta say that looks spectacular as well. The taillights look a little bit more like the Dart and a little bit less defined than the older Challenger, but I think it looks really good. The front end looks very aggressive, love the LED treatment they did on the headlights there, and of course this one benefits from a nicer interior as well. Very, very good job. Hats off to the guy at Dodge, that the team that developed those cars and restyled them. You did it right, so congratulations. Another car I'm really happy to see, though, is, although I wish the Mustang was still retro looking, I do love the 2015 Mustang, and they are paying homage to the 50th anniversary, and they have this new limited edition 50th anniversary Mustang they debuted at New York this past week, and it looks really cool. I like it a lot. So it has, the chrome corral grille, and it has wheels that are inspired from the 1965 GT, and it has some glass window louvers for the rear quarter windows, which I really like. They also have chrome accents around the taillights to give it more of a retro feel, and on the interior they have some retro bits, and it's a two-tone interior. But like I mentioned and speculated earlier with this, whenever they showed spy shots of this car, it's only going to be available basically as a fully loaded GT. You can get a manual or automatic, and that's basically your only choice. Otherwise, it's completely fully loaded up, has the performance pack and everything else. So that's looking like a $40,000 Mustang at least. So that's going to be, kind of pricey, but I think that's spectacular looking. And also, the big thing, it comes in Wimbledon white, the original white from the 65 Mustang, which I'm quite tickled about. So if I were to go for a 2015 Mustang, that would probably be the one. Really like that a lot. Speaking of Mustang news, this isn't a new product, but I thought it was worth mentioning, also because of the 50th anniversary. Back in 1964 when they debuted the Mustang, they put one up on top of the Empire State Building. And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, how they're doing it again. They put a yellow convertible Mustang on top of the Empire State Building, and it looks really cool. You can see some pictures of how it looks up there. Very sweet idea, and yeah, it's a crazy process. They had to disassemble the whole car and reassemble it up there on the roof. It's pretty crazy. Other New York news. I'll try and go faster with this stuff because we have lots of stuff to cover. Next is that Audi has debuted an RS7 Dynamic Edition, which is $142,000 and just gives you a nicer interior. No performance upgrades or anything. So that's now more expensive than an R8, and it's not any faster or anything. It's just pimped out. So I'd pass on that. Other news that's not very exciting, New York also, the 2015 Kia Sedona was debuted. It's a minivan. Looks nice, but it's a minivan. We'll move on. Next, the 2015 Subaru Outback looks exactly like the Legacy, except it's on stilts and has some body cladding around it. Looks nice. I don't think it looks bad, but it's not particularly exciting either. But it's nicely styled and it's conservative, and most Outback buyers are conservative folks, so that's perfectly fine for them. So it looks nice. Other car news, the Honda HR-V was debuted, which is like a baby CR-V. It's based on the Honda Fit, and you know, everyone in America loves their crossover vehicles, so they said, hey, let's take a Fit, put it on stilts, and make it a little more aggressive looking. That's what they've done. That should probably sell well, considering that's what the market likes. Other news. For 2015, Infiniti's debuted the Q7T, which is basically looks like a long Q50, and this is supposed to be their flagship model, I guess, and I mean, it looks very nice, and yeah, not much more to say about that. Other news, BMW is offering a track handling package for the 2 Series now, which is awesome. You know, the M235i has been getting a lot of great reviews, and this handling package should make it even better, so that's pretty sweet. Other news is Maserati also has a special edition of the Gran Turismo called the Centennial Edition, and it has this nice red color. It has a few bits to make it look like the MC Stradale version, and yeah, and while we're talking about Maserati news, there's been a report that the new Alfieri, which is the replacement for the Gran Turismo, has been greenlit. Because Maserati sales have been doing so well this year, they said that is what has motivated them to go ahead and build the successor to the Gran Turismo. Not sure how long that's going to take, but they said it should be pretty easy to build. They already have all the components they need. They just got to put it together, and so hopefully we'll see that in maybe 2 years or so. Next is Mazda revealed the 25th anniversary edition of the MX-5 Miata as basically a final hurrah for the Miata before the new one comes out. They showed the chassis for the new Miata. The new Miata is going to debut at the Chicago Motor Show next year, I believe. And so anyway, this is basically a final hurrah version, and the new version is going to be pretty sweet. They're saying it's going to go on a diet and be even lighter than the current Miatas. They're saying 2,300 pounds, which is a full 450 pounds lighter than a BRZ, which is pretty impressive. And you know, even with 180 horsepower or something, that's going to be a fantastically quick car and tons of fun. So that's something to keep on your radar for next year for sure. Other news: the 2015 Volkswagen Jetta has been redesigned a little bit, and looks nice, nothing crazy. Other Volkswagen news, they've previewed a Golf R400 concept. It's just a sketch right now, and no confirmed information. They have a bunch of cars they're teasing. They're going to be doing all their debuts at the Beijing Motor Show, apparently. So they're saying this is going to be, a really hopped up version, and it's basically 400 horsepower version of the Golf R. They're saying it's going to be, much faster, so they're talking 4 seconds 0 to 60s and all this fun stuff. That should be pretty sweet, pretty promising. Definitely hope they produce that. Other Volkswagen Group news is the 2016 Audi A3 Sportback, the hatchback version, is going to come with diesel power. You can get a diesel engine in it, which is spectacular. Diesels, I think, are an excellent idea, and I hope that those do well here in America. I know the TDI Volkswagens do really well. Other economical car news is the 2015 Nissan Versa has debuted, and the headlights and the whole front end just looks hideous in my opinion. It's a very, very inexpensive car though, so I mean, I guess you can't have everything when you're only paying, $10,000 for a brand new car. So, yeah, that is what it is. Next, while we're talking about affordable cars, the 2015 Chevy Cruze has been slightly restyled. Kind of has the same grille as the Malibu, and not a whole lot else changed on that. Other cheap car news is the 2015 Ford Focus has been refreshed and looks really spectacular. They did a really nice job. The front end has the same kind of thing as the Fusion, but it's really just refined all around. It looks like a baby Fusion kind of, and they did a really nice job restyling that. Another good bit of news here is Alfa Romeo has officially announced that they are bringing the 4C here to America, and they have a launch edition they're even doing specifically for America here. We're going to be getting them early this summer. I think they said June even, which is really soon. I mean, that's 2 months away. And they're saying that these launch edition ones are going to be kind of special in that they have no mufflers. Excellent idea. The Italians I love this whole, Chrysler Fiat group with the way they're doing Dodge and Alfa, and oh man, really, really good management going on there. So they're deleting the mufflers off the launch version. They're going to have 500 of the launch versions, I believe. It's going to have some other stuff, carbon fiber spoiler, mirror caps, things like that. They're also going to have the same nice headlights you see on the Spider version, so it's not going to have the iffy headlights from the original 4C. And yeah, just all kinds of wonderfulness going on there. Hopefully the Spider comes soon, but right now they're just saying it's just the coupe. But I'll gladly take whatever we can get here in America. Next is another refresh. Mini has showed the refreshed Countryman, and it has some black headlight housings, slightly refreshed interior and exterior, nothing big. Next is one car that got a big redesign was a 2015 Toyota Camry, which now just looks like a stretched out version of the Corolla to me. Has some interesting styling bits. You know, and I mean, it looks nice, but I mean, they were saying, I mean, it's going to have a more sport-tuned suspension a little bit, but honestly, that car doesn't really impress me. You know, if I'm looking at something in this bracket, I'd be looking at a Ford Fusion instead. I think it looked much better still. Another car, though, is a 2015 Hyundai Sonata. It's different than the one that I thought was the production version for America. This one looks really good, actually. To be perfectly honest, I think that looks better than the Toyota. And yeah, I really love the way they did the headlights, and the it almost looks a little bit Subaru inspired. I like that a lot. So, yeah, good job on the new Sonata. Other standard car news is the 2015 Nissan Murano has been debuted, and it looks a lot like the sports sedan concept that we saw at Detroit. And you know, it's a very nice shape, though. The way they redid the Murano, it looks really good. So hats off to Nissan for that. Another really good looking crossover is Land Rover debuted the Discovery Vision concept, which is basically going to be like the new you know, lower end Land Rover model, and it looks really good. And they actually said that because it had such good feedback, they're probably going to make that very soon. So good to see that coming out here in the near future. Other crossover news is because the Buick Encore has been so wildly popular, Chevy said, well, hey, let's make a cheaper version. So they basically took the Encore and made a cheaper, you know, chintzier Chevy version, and it's going to be more affordable than the Encore, and that should sell really well, considering, like I said, everyone likes small crossovers here in America at the moment, and so that should sell really well. So look for those on every street corner probably by the end of this year. Next, while we're talking about Chevy, the 2015 Corvette Z6 convertible debuted here in New York, and a lot of people think this is blasphemy because the Z6 was always a hardtop and the hardcore version, so making it a convertible and giving it an automatic, everyone's just saying, oh, this is just totally going to crap. I think it's really cool. It looks sweet. Hey, I like convertibles, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But next is Aston Martin has debuted a $99,000 V8 Vantage GT. So, I mean, you know, the Vantage has obviously been kind of on the back end of its life cycle for a while now, and they're kind of keeping it alive with these new special editions, kind of like how Lamborghini did with the Gallardo. And so they have this $99,000 base price, you know, Vantage GT, which is really cool. You can get one for less than $100,000 now, and you know, still a spectacular car, very impressive, 430 horsepower, and you know, still does 190 miles an hour, all that fun stuff. So that's pretty cool that you know, they have that special edition now. Next is Mercedes has teased the new interior on the AMG GT, which they've announced that's the name of the car, and they said that the whole car is going to debut this fall. And the interior looks really cool, though. I really like the way that looks. I can't wait to see the whole car. And now for some non-New York news. So there's been a bunch of really sick cars that have been spotted out, you know, testing, and they've been spied. First is Porsche's working on either a GT3 RS or a GT2. I'm guessing that's a GT3 RS because that looks really extreme. It looks like a GT3 that's just hopped up, has an enormous rear spoiler on it. I mean, that's almost as big as the ones on the race cars they have. Has some canards on the front end and things like that. Very, very sweet looking, and can't wait to see the final version of that. Other sick hypercar news, Ferrari has been testing a LaFerrari XX, which is going to be, they've confirmed they're making it. It's basically like the Enzo, you know, the FXX version. This is going to be the race car version that, you know, Ferrari makes you pay millions of dollars for and then only lets you take it out whenever they say it's okay to. So that's this new version of this. That's pretty sweet, though, for those of you that are into that. Other good news, being a Jaguar fan, Jaguar is testing a hardcore F-Type. This is either like the RS or the RS GT version, but it has a huge front lip that juts out, has a very aggressive rear diffuser, and just looks all kinds of wonderful to me. So, I mean, they're saying obviously it's going to have more power, so I don't even know. I mean, the current R has 550 horsepower. This snarling thing is probably going to have somewhere north of 600. It's just mind-blown all over the place. Jaguar just gets it. They get it in every possible way you can get it. This is just spectacular. They keep rolling out these new versions every year. Anyway, another thing, Bentley's testing a hardcore version of the Continental GT V8, and so, you know, it looks like it's got a handling package on it, a pretty aggressive setup. They might be doing a GT V8 Speed or something, because the Speed versions have always been only W12, but honestly, I prefer the V8 better, and the V8 just sounds fantastic, and it's lighter, it's cheaper, so a hardcore version of that sounds good to me. And lastly, another thing, Bugatti has been out testing mules of a Veyron successor that has all kinds of crazy, almost DeLorean time machine looking stuff on the back rear engine bay and just looks nuts. I don't know what they have planned, but it's just going to be absolutely bonkers. I mean, I wouldn't plan on seeing anything new from Bugatti for the next 3 or 5 years, but you can tell they're working on something here, and it's Bugatti. It's going to be spectacular, whatever it is. So that's exciting to see them out testing something. So yeah, so that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I'll send it back to me in the car. Alright, so I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here, like I always do. With a little slide. There's that second gear. It always chirps when you go into second with these tires on it. It's really fun. So yeah, always puts a smile on my face. It's so nice to be able to do it with the windows down. Now it's warm, no coat or anything. Really happy the warm weather is here, hopefully for good. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.